Hey guys, Jen here. I would like to welcome you to this new series of mine, the Clutter Chronicles. So today, very first episode, we're going to talk about books. I'm going to go through and we're going to talk about clutter and hoarding and packratness and overcoming it and just bringing you on my journey with that. So my goal with this series is just to be able to help myself and help others like me. I have always been a packrat. I am extremely sentimental. I am extremely wasteful minded. So it is hard for me to let go of things. Unfortunately, I've also moved a lot, and that is a lot of stuff to move around, and it just gets in the way. It clutters up all the space, and I am finally at a point in my life that I'm realizing I can release it. So I just wanted to share with you guys. I think it's also going to be easier for me to release it if I can share the story behind it. And I hope that fellow clutterbugs can kind of relate to that and hopefully find some help in it. And I'll be talking about things that I've learned as I go through this decluttering process that are also helpful. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of these, because I'm going room by room. Basically, when I get a box or a bag full, then I'll do a video. So I almost have a bag full of my office and craft room, so that'll be coming next probably. But for now, here's the bookshelf. We'll go over that first. First book, Homer, the Odyssey. So this, along with actually several poetry books in here, were from college. I have a hard time getting rid of college books. Just because, you know, that was a good time in my life and I don't remember a lot from the actual classes. And I feel like it was a waste of time, like I'm not smart, like I just feel a loss. And if I don't have it with me, then I didn't learn anything. It's just this weird attachment. I actually realized that a few years ago when my sister-in-law was trying to help me declutter. And I had a chemistry book, and she's like, Jennifer, you didn't go into, you know, a career that requires chemistry. Like, why do you still have this book? And I was crying because I was like, no, you don't understand. If I get rid of it. So this is a college book. I took a poetry class. I loved it. And don't get me wrong, I still kept some poetry books. But I slimmed it down probably by half. And some of these, either I've read it, like I read the Odyssey, you know, I'm not going to read it again. I really don't care about it. There are some that I haven't read that I thought, okay, I'll throw myself a bone. Maybe when my life is less cluttered, I will make time, as I'm in kind of a phase. I call my divorce detox of like figuring out who I am and reorganizing my life, that I will take the time to get back into poetry. I have the poetry that I've written, and then some books that I know I like, and then some, as I flipped through, I made that judgment call. So anyway, there's that, and there's a few in here as well. So sorry, Homer, your Odyssey is done here for me. Next one, Mark Twain, Huckleberry. You know what? I liked reading it. I read it first at a friend's house. Again, we were in college and we were visiting her parents for like spring break or something, and I liked it, but I'm not gonna read it again. I got too much on my to-do list. Oh, this is a beastly on cooking. So I have a culinary arts degree, and this beast talks about everything: ingredients, recipes, techniques. But the thing is, I don't work in the food industry, and I am still keeping some of mine. I realized I don't really look at recipes very much. I'll just Google them or just do my own thing. I enjoyed the college. This is great for someone that is learning how to cook and trying to get into fancy cuisine. I'm cooking for party of one, and it's a sandwich and noodles and rice kind of thing. And I don't know, it's really hefty. It is really big. And I don't remember when I've ever referenced this in the last at least 5 years, maybe even 10 years. I actually got two of these. They're these little flip through things about food storage and like goals, which is nice, but you know what, I'm single. I don't need some giant food storage. That's where I'll sit with that. More poetry books, family home evening for newlyweds. Again, recently divorced. Even when we were married, I flipped through it like a couple times and didn't really use it. So sorry to anyone that might have given me these books, but I hope you appreciate the place in my heart that it's coming from, of needing to not be focused on things, but a different quality of life. Recipe book, Eat Right for Less, Nutrition on a Budget. Again, okay, so there's a few different cookbooks in here, so I'll just kind of write that off. I'm only keeping 2 recipe books. One is for my culinary arts day, and then one is a family one. I reference cookbooks never, and I've been given several. I just don't. I either make it up, or I look at my mom's recipes, or I Google it. Usually not in that order. So getting rid of it because it just sits on my shelf, and I'm sure there's wonderful recipes, but that's not my style. Garnishing for everyone. If I want to remember how to make a rose out of a turnip like I did in culinary days, I can watch a YouTube video. It is a church book, one that I'm sure is very nice, but we get a lot of books in church. We study the curriculum and then we don't really revisit it ever or in years, and it's all available online. So I like having the physical book because I'm always staring at a screen, so it's nice to have the physical one, but you know, don't want to carry everything around. A couple books on Poland. So that's another thing that's near and dear to my heart. I served a mission for my church, lived in Poland for a year and a half, and this one, it has a lot to do on like places to stay and touristy things, but it's so outdated. And then this one, I just remember there were parts in the book that I didn't particularly like. It did its purpose in helping me understand the history and culture of the country, to understand the people, but in the end, I'm not going to read it again. Another church book, never even read that one. Couple of books from Poland in Polish. One was from a library, one was a gift from someone, I believe. And just to be completely honest, I'm not going to read these. And a big thing of it is, it's been a decade and my Polish is really rusty. So I'm reading through the Chronicles of Narnia, but kids' books these are not, especially because one is poetry, and that would be, I think, just so much harder to understand another language poetry. Now there's a time and a place. Some people are going to love that. I just don't have time in my life right now. It's not my priority. Here's another Polish one, Przewodnik Apologetyczny. I don't make time for reading very much, period, because I'm usually creating videos or working or spending time with friends. So if I'm gonna read a book, usually it has to be like a small book and a very meaningful book. I'm working on a lot of like self-help books right now, inspirational books. 500 answers to big questions. I had this whole dream when I was married that we were gonna buy a house and we were gonna have a backyard like farm. We were gonna have backyard chickens, we were gonna have our own beehives. I spent so many hours. I'm that person, I do so much research, and I don't know, we just came across this like in a thrift store or something. I don't think we bought it online, but it's really useful information if you want to be a beekeeper. I live in an apartment right now and I don't have any plan on raising bees anytime soon, and honestly can look that information up online again. Something on finances, pretty rudimentary. I feel like I would need more information or more in depth. Oh look, I have 2 of those. Something about motherhood that's precious. I'm not going to be a mom anytime soon. CPR, which techniques have probably changed. Another church one, not sure if I read it. Poetry, when I flipped through, I wasn't really that impressed. I don't even remember where I got that one. Another church one. This one was a really great read. It was actually an assignment for college, and I kept it because it was a very inspirational story. But for the most part, I remember the story. I don't think I would read it again, especially because it had a lot to do with cultural, political things that are still very relevant, but we're in a very different place than the story that happened. A couple of these that were given to me because of kind of an acquaintance of a family member, and there's a little bit of sad memories attached, and also the fact that I never really read it, and I think you might want to know the author more or just have a lot of time for that kind of stuff. The Friendship Book. Okay, this is kind of fun because it's an older book, and I actually hollowed it out because I'm a crafty person, but like I never actually put anything in it and never hide anything in it, and let someone else have a fun hollowed out book. Nutella cookbook, more cooking pages, and a couple of investment, money, retirement guides from college from my business classes. But again, if I'm going to get serious about things, I'm just gonna look it up online. 101 ideas for more meaningful prayer. I'm gonna try to make my prayer more meaningful by asking God instead of a book. Not that I'm sure it doesn't have a lot of good pointers, but again, am I reading it? No. More poetry, Declaration of Independence, and short biographies of its signers. Not taking the time for that. A couple of church resource ones, and Emma, which I'm not sure I actually read. I think that it's more of like the modern English, and I don't know. I got the movie. The movie's good enough for me. Quinoa 365. I love you, Mom, and I love that you love quinoa, but I never once used a single recipe from here because I just don't look at recipes. This is actually something that on GoFundMe, no, Kickstarter. I think this is probably like the only campaign that I've ever actually backed, and I got something out of it. It is an adult coloring book, but I got it for like a gift. So I'm gonna try to think of someone that I can gift it to or sell it to someone, because it's in mint condition and it's a really cool book. But I don't need it sitting on my shelf because it has been for years. Garde-manger. This is another culinary arts book, and garde-manger was actually one of my favorite classes. It says the art and craft of the cold kitchen. So it has to do with like salads, appetizers, but also preservation. So making sausages, or just making sure food doesn't spoil, like pickling it or canning it, that kind of stuff. I really loved that. But this particular book, just the recipes, it's really recipe based, and I don't need a recipe book. Little church pamphlet, crochet projects that I really just don't crochet, so I'll let someone else enjoy those. And then this big beast is a binder full of so many recipes, and I feel bad getting rid of it because this was a wedding gift from the ladies at church, and they have had to spend a lot of time and also money getting that together. But I don't think a single time in my almost 6 years of marriage did I ever actually use a recipe from it. So I think it's important to remember that yes, I feel guilty, especially I would feel bad if any of those ladies watch this, but you don't keep big bulky stuff in your house because you feel guilty getting rid of it, you know? It's not some family heirloom. It's just sitting there collecting dust, and that's the way I roll. That sounds so casual, but you have to match your personality and your lifestyle. If you're not a cooking book person, don't have 12 cooking books. If you don't make a lot of time for reading, then why do you have all these books that you are sitting around knowing that you will never actually read? So for me, just getting rid of the sentimentalist things that don't hold as much weight, the things that I know I'm never going to get around to, or that I'm not going to get around to again. So there are a lot of books that I kept that I have not read yet, and everything's a little disheveled over on my bookshelf right now, but I intend to reorganize it partially by kind of priority. Like this book I remember loving and I want to read again, versus this book I've never read and I really should. So it was kind of exhausting going through all this. I hope that this was helpful for you guys. I don't know, let me know in the comments down below, does this resonate with you? Maybe you are an avid book reader, but you just have a hard time getting rid of them. One challenge that I gave myself was to set like a number goal or a percentage goal. Like when I looked at all of these poetry books, I said, okay, let's cut it down by half. And when it came down to it, and there's, you know, maybe like 2 extra, that's not exactly half. Like I didn't force myself, like, okay, you gotta do half, because that was your goal. If there's 1 extra out of 10, and I decided to keep 6, you know what, that's still 4 gone. That's still 4 that are not collecting dust anymore. So that's the way that it helped me just kind of set a goal, slim it down. Now my bookshelf is still far from done. I have a lot of notebooks and binders and folders that I'm going through and just sorting through the loose paper especially, and notes that I've jotted down at events that I felt important. I'm trying to decide how to go through that. That is going to be a whole other ordeal. But this is a great start and I'm optimistic about how things are going. I probably won't actually go through all the binders and notebooks in that until I'm done with my office space, just because some is in there, some is in my bookshelf in my living room, so we'll see. Fun fact that I learned recently, people that are more cluttered are actually more perfectionists. And I think that's kind of funny because you're going to walk into my house and it's messy and you're going to think, no, not a perfectionist. If you ask my coworkers about me being a perfectionist or my supervisor at work, they will tell you that girl, she's one for details and she's one for organization, and it drives her crazy when things are not so and consistent and all that. But in my own life, around my home, the emotions get more of me, or the fears or the anxiety about something, and a lot of it is just tackling it. We expect it to be perfect and we hype ourselves up about it, and therefore it just doesn't get done because it's too big to tackle. So that's what I'm focusing on, is letting things be okay, that it's just a little bit at a time. I did the bookshelf, I'm doing the office. I don't have to do this whole house all in one day, right? It's biting off a little bit, how to eat the elephant, one bite at a time. So if you enjoyed this, I hope it wasn't too rambly, too personal, but I hope that, I don't know, I just feel like people like me that tend to have a hard time getting rid of things probably resonate in a lot of the same categories. So I appreciate you joining me here. Again, hit that subscribe if you are interested in watching more of what I call the Clutter Chronicles. Next time it'll be office/craft space and just going room by room, right? I said culinary arts. There's the kitchen. The kitchen might be the hardest, I'll be honest. It'll be so hard, but in the end, how much do I use? There's only so many hours in the day, and our interests change and our priorities change. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you for watching again, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.